All right, Yankee fans, we told you we didn't forget about you. We know we've had Mets guests on for most of the way, but we got you the best here. He's been WFAN Yankees reporter forever, since 2001, and we got Sweeny Murti. Sweeny, welcome to the show.
Hi, fellas. How you doing?
We're good. We're good. Now, this year with the Yankees, we're about to hit October. It's been a really weird season. They were historically good to start. They were terrible. They were one of the worst teams statistically in the middle of the season, and now they've kind of got a little bit back here. Is this one of the weirder seasons you've seen?
I mean, they're all kind of in their own little category. I think back to 2017, the last time the Yankees got to Game 7 of the ALCS against the Astros. That year started with a really good April, and it had a really good September. I think it was actually they played probably like 22-9 or 23-9 on each end, and then in the middle they played 100 games at 500. And there's just different ways to get there. You're right, they were on a historic pace earlier in the year, but I mean, logic told you that they weren't going to win 120 games. I think maybe you could have expected something like what the Dodgers, the Astros are doing, and they fell off that pace too. So I think September has turned out much better for them. August was really down point for them. And if you look at really what turned, they got a little bit healthier in September. Their schedule got a little bit easier in September. And you put both of those two things together, maybe with a little bit more sense of urgency, knowing that September is here, I think all of that kind of put them back in the right direction, and they won the division fairly comfortably here.
Now, you said that they did get healthier. Now, Stanton has come back. He basically, except for that grand slam, the walk-off, he's kind of been slumping. What does that worry you going into October?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always have to, you'd like these guys to get a little bit of a head of steam going and feel like they're productive. Stanton's presence in the lineup helps, but after a while, it only helps if he's producing. So that is certainly a concern. Gleyber Torres, Josh Donaldson were part of the concern for most of the really July and August. They were a big part of the concern. They have had better months in September. I'm curious to see. Really, I think what you're going to look to see over the course of this next week is DJ LeMahieu, and if he is healthy enough to be a good hitter, then what do you do with him? Because there are, the spots to play him are first, second, third, or DH, right? Yeah. Well, Anthony Rizzo is back and healthy. You're not going to play him at first. Gleyber Torres is smoking hot again. You're not going to play him at second. Josh Donaldson has played a really good third base. He's been kind of hot and cold with the bat and really hasn't had that big hot streak that you kind of thought was going to happen. But defensively, he is one of the strongest players the Yankees have, and it would probably be in their benefit to play him at third base over a somewhat physically compromised DJ LeMahieu. That leaves DH. Again, this all comes back to whether or not DJ LeMahieu can hit like DJ LeMahieu. And you only have a small window to figure that out. If you're going to roll the dice with LeMahieu, then you have to figure out, okay, do I want to play him at third base and, kind of switch a little bit off of Donaldson? Do I want to play him at DH because Stanton is cold? And in the meantime, in the final week, does Stanton get hot again? These are, and then, what happens? The other part of this is if LeMahieu looks like he's healthy enough but isn't hot, the week you have, because you have a bye, what does that do for your prospects? So I don't think I think the easiest call right now is to say roll with who's here, because I think, you're thinking about pie in the sky of, is DJ LeMahieu going to be able to be the best hitting version of DJ LeMahieu? And that feels like a bit of a long shot, although I guess it's possible. So I think you kind of have to wait to see how this next week plays out to see if you're any closer to figuring that out.
Now the next week, it sounds like Boone's got a ton on his plate. Usually the Yankees are solid. They know going into the playoffs, they know what's going on. He's got a bunch of decisions to make here. Now, Judge he wants to play until he gets till he hits the 62nd. He's got 3 games at home now this weekend coming up. It's a weird season because there's a bye involved there. Now, it's almost like the NFL, like when Peyton Manning, did they sit him that last game? Did they not? Are the Yankees, because if you sit Judge or you sit your regulars the last couple days, you still get that extra week off. And baseball's an everyday type of thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so they're going to want to get some at-bats, and they're going to want to, they have the luxury of having, the 5 days. So I think what you're going to see is, it gets tricky because they don't have an off day anymore, and they have a doubleheader on Tuesday. So I think you're going to try to figure. And listen, the tonight game tomorrow is a day game. What if tonight is 5-hour marathon? Then what happens? So I think you can think about maybe playing him 2 out of 3 and 2 out of 4 and see how that goes. Or maybe he wants to play 3 days in a row in Texas and just miss one of the games of doubleheader. It's about just, keeping your swing intact and all that stuff, and guys just want to get their at-bats in because you can't substitute that. And then, there's a matter of the batting title, which I think the good thing for Judge about the home runs is that he really needs 1, right? Like, he's not hitting 12 more, so really 1 is all he needs. And if he can get that, then that is kind of out of the way because there's not much of a difference between 62 and 65 or 68. So I think as far as records are concerned, the batting title will be kind of interesting. So because of the Triple Crown aspect of it.
Yeah, it's kind of my next question. Like, if it comes down to the last game of the season, or the last 2 games of the season, if he is up, say, 2 points, does he sit out that last game and just see what happens? Or do you think he's the type of guy to go out there and play through it and just go win the title?
I don't know yet. I think a lot of it just depends on how you're getting there, and what that day looks like, and what the days before look like, and does he, I really don't know because I think and I don't know what the other guys have done. Like, is he behind by 2 points? Is he ahead by 4 points? It's really hard to say that right now because you don't know how you're getting there. I think we all want to believe that he's the kind of guy, let me get out there. But I mean, for what? Okay, if he's hit his home runs and they don't have to play for the game doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It's really just getting a couple of his bats to get a couple of his bats, but the batting title is a little wrinkle in there. So I don't think you can accurately predict that it's going to go a certain way. I think you kind of have to just see how you get there.
Yeah, I mean, you never really know because, like Jose Reyes, he came out for 1 at bat in that final game, and then that was it. But Judge.
But he also wasn't going to get another at bat for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Don't rub it into us, all right, Sweeny? We're Mets fans. We get it, all right? You got to work every October, all right? The Mets guys get off every October. Now, is this to me the Triple Crown is more impressive, but than the home run record. But is this the best season you've seen from a Yankee while covering the team or ever?
Well, I mean, they're both impressive because, frankly, he could be competing for the Triple Crown with 40 home runs too, right?
Yeah.
He has 61, dude. Come on.
I know.
Like,
that's what the people like. People like the home runs, but to me, it's an all-around baseball player. It's that Triple Crown. As a kid growing up, it's almost unobtainable, and especially to hit so many home runs with it is just even more incredible.
But he's also not hitting 370. There's a give and take there too, and it's part of the game right now. I think overall it's a phenomenal season. I mean, listen, there was I guess years ago I said that the best seasons I've ever seen were probably A-Rod 05 and 07, but I can't really say that because I know how it happened. I know part of the reason that it happened. So, and the PEDs are a factor when you have to sit here and rationalize, okay, what was I watching? So, from that standpoint, I mean, my gosh, I've never seen anybody hit 60 home runs in my lifetime. I have, without PED suspicions or admitted use. I've seen one person win a Triple Crown in my lifetime. I'm 52 years old.
Yeah.
So if you're going to put both of those two together in one season, do I have a choice but to say, of course, this is the greatest season I've ever seen?
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's going to be nice to see him in a Mets uniform next year. That I can tell you right now. Now, but seriously about that, because someone's going to go out and offer him a mega contract. Obviously, the Yankees are going to throw whatever they can at him. But if someone goes and offers him somewhere in the range of 9 years, $400 million, 10 years, $450, do the Yankees match that?
I don't know that.
Should they?
I have to wait to see if it gets there, because the Yankees are going to have a window to offer him a contract where nobody else can be.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting, now that's going to have to be an offer that is one of those blow you out of the water offers and say, I don't care what anybody else is offering, and kind of play the Yankees off of that. I don't know yet what he's going to do. You get one chance at this.
Yep.
So you're going to, and he came this close. The Yankees are going to make a really good offer. Is it going to be enough for him to say, I don't want to hear anybody else's? I don't know that, because I don't know what the offer is going to be, right? But I do know that they're going to make him an offer that's going to keep, attempt to keep him in the Yankee uniform for a very long time and make him a very rich man. I mean, they already went where they went in April. They're going to have to go more than that in October, November here. So, I think it's something that once they get, once they're done playing, whether they get knocked out or they go all the way, you're going to have a little bit of a window to say, okay, what do you want to do? I mean, they're doing all that work now, right? I mean, they're working on that number, and they're going to present it to him at the appropriate time, and we'll see how Judge wants to handle it. He might have a month to decide, or he might have a couple of days to decide, depending on how far the Yankees go.
Does it frustrate you that players pull out? I mean, obviously not years like this, but they tend to pull out their best years for the most part on their walk years?
This is what I say all the time. If you or I were told that how much money we make for the next 10 years will be dependent on how well we do our jobs for this next year, aren't you going to do your job a little bit better?
I would have worked so much harder this week.
Listen, honestly, whether you're a radio announcer, a corrections officer, a bank teller, a police officer, a school teacher, whatever you want to do, if you are told, if you know for a fact that you can get more money for the next 10 years and life-changing money for the next 10 years, if you do your job as well as possible for the next 6 months, oh my gosh, why are we even arguing that? That is, to me, that is a really played out thing. Yes. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody because we are all, if we were all in that position in real life, we would do the same thing.
Is this the most home runs he ever hits? Is this the year he hits the most? And we're talking about, maybe 45, 50 home runs on average?
Listen, I said that after he hit 52 in 2017. I said, you got to be really, really careful here.
Yep.
I did a piece with, I actually contacted Dan Marino, because Dan Marino threw 48 touchdown passes, a then NFL record, in his second year in the league, 1984.
Yep.
He had a really great career. He had many really great years. He never again threw 48 touchdowns.
Never played in the Super Bowl either after that.
Well, that's it. Yeah, but that's different. But as far as from individual numbers, he had one other season where he kind of could have challenged it, but didn't really. So I said, listen, you have to be prepared for this. Look at Giancarlo Stanton. His teammate had one crack at this, and that was it. But you had a lot of other good years since then. The fact that Judge has done this twice in 6 years, that's pretty incredible. And I would have bet against it, because odds tell you that it's not that easy to do. If you're going to sign into an 8-year deal, and as a fan or even anybody else, you're going to expect him to do this again, you are mistaken. Okay. Right. This type of season, I just got them telling you that it's been 61 years since somebody hit 60 home runs legitimately, and it's been once in the last 55 years that somebody's won a Triple Crown. You think this is going to happen 3 or 4 more times in the next contract? No way, bro. This is once. You're going to pay him because I think you hope that what you've seen over the last couple of years is that he's figured out how to keep himself on the field. A little bit of a less is more approach at times. It's how he prepares his body for a 162-game season. And when he's on the field more, you're going to have a chance to get somewhere between 40 and 50 home runs. Anything above that is really all a lot of different things happening at the same time. and really starry-eyed comparisons. But I think you have to reset your baseline for what you're going to see, especially as he gets a little bit older, and you see how that affects his body.
Now you're at every game. I'm guessing you keep score. Did you give the 61st home run? Was it an E10 in your scorebook?
Frankie Lasagna dropping the ball.
No, listen, he never had it. Okay, that's clean. He never touched it.
All right.
He never touched. He never touched it. I mean, if he had touched it, that'd be one thing. He can be more upset. He never touched it.
I'd be upset either way.
Well, I guess he can, but listen,
I would have dove. I would have dove right off the railing.
No, then the medical expenses would have been worth a lot more than the ball.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm a civil servant, Sweeny. I got the best benefits out there.
We'll be all right.
Now, as far as a big problem with this team is going to be the bullpen. That's the big question. Who's their closer? What do they do to fix the bullpen? What's going on there?
Don't know. I think their biggest problem is that the inconsistency has caused them to question like who their guys are. But I think beyond that, I think they have a lot of guys out there who can close games and can have good runs in them in a short period of time in October. But I think the biggest thing they're missing are strikeouts. Swing and miss pitching is what people look for in their bullpens in October. And the Yankees don't have that. Clay Holmes is a contact guy. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Loaizaga could be that guy. He has pitched to more contact and fewer swings and misses than he did a year ago. All these other guys, Lou Trevino is potentially a closer, but he's more of a contact guy. And that's harder to get through late innings of postseason baseball. It's just, teams look for strikeout pitchers. The Yankees have one. Unfortunately, he's at the end of his rope and is nowhere close to being effective, and you're not going to see Aroldis Chapman anywhere near an important game next month. So I don't know if the Yankees have a perfect solution for their bullpen. I think they're trying to get Clark Schmidt into that frame and figure it out, but you can also play with it. It really depends on how a series goes, okay? You could find yourself in a situation where, Luis Severino's on his third day and you need 2 innings, and maybe that closes out the series.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Let's get the series win now. But he's still more valuable to them as a starting pitcher. So I don't know if there's a perfect solution here yet. The perfect solution to me is Jonathan Loaizaga really getting back to that swing and miss, because he is the guy that I would have made the closer at the beginning of the year. He had some injury issues and had to deal with that, but he's the guy that I thought was the one that was ready to take that next step up, because last year was so good. And
now with Carpenter possibly coming back, I don't know if you could even expect him to be as hot as he was. I mean, he comes from the Cardinals, and the Cardinals just are there every year, no matter what. Everything about the Cardinals, I worries me, especially because they're going to be in the playoffs. But is Carpenter going to be a factor here in the postseason? Is he going to be hurt? Like, what's the situation with Carpenter? Do you expect him to be good like he was?
Well, like he was, no. He was Roy Hobbs, okay? After 3 months off, I do not expect him to come back and still be Roy Hobbs, because Matt Carpenter's been in the league for 10 years. This is similar to what we were just talking about, Judge. Mm-hmm. This is the best stretch you've ever seen of a guy, and it was 1 month of incredible baseball. Do we really think after 2 months off he's just going to jump right back into that? No, but he has shown you that he has some ability there. There's a left-handed bat in that lineup that could be a difference maker. Do I think he's going to come back and hit 12 home runs in the postseason? No, of course not. But could he hit a big one in a big spot late in the game? Yeah, of course he could.
He's been there before. He's got the experience.
And experience plays, and as much as you'd love to see Oswaldo Cabrera get all the playing time, you're talking about trying to get Andrew Benintendi and Matt Carpenter healthy and DJ LeMahieu healthy. Veterans are veterans for a reason, right? Like you rely on them a little bit more because of the moment. Maybe Cabrera can handle it because he's played really well. But those are some decisions to make going forward here. I just, caution you to take a step back. Like Roy Hobbs is not going to hit 12 home runs in the postseason. It's, I think you have to scale back and just say, can he get you a big hit in a big spot to help you win a game? Because that just might be enough.
Now that's big, but we got to, you need to have that starting pitching. And when you look at the Yankees rotation coming up for the playoffs, I mean, Cole's hasn't been the same as he has been in past years. I think ever since they took away the sticky stuff for Cole, he hasn't had the same control. But
he's got the most strikeouts as any Yankee.
I can see that, but he still gets into his shaky spots. How do you see it coming out for them with Cole, Cortez, and who else do you like? Who do you like in the third and fourth spot?
So who starts Game 7?
That's a big one. Who starts Game 7?
I mean, I think you got to get there first, okay? I mean, you've got put yourself in a position where you've actually won 3 games too, okay? In order to get to a Game 7.
Yep.
That's a lot.
I think it's
Garrett Cole.
Yeah, if Cole's shaky
Nestor
early,
Cortez,
then what?
And Luis Severino are your top 3 guys. Jamison Tyone could factor in, but again, I think you're playing. I don't think you can play this by saying, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're just going to line it up. I mean, you got to figure, okay, what if you're down 2 games to 1? What if you're up 2 games to 1? What if one guy got shelled in his game? What happens then? You've really got to maneuver a lot differently based on reacting to what you're seeing. So I don't think there's a simple, here's what I do, and that's the right answer. As far as Garrett Cole, I don't know what to make of him, because you're still talking about a guy who's striking out 250 batters in a season. Okay, yeah, sticky stuff was an issue, a little bit different, of course. But you're still talking about a guy who has dominated lineups for most of this year at various times, and then been hit by a home run ball or a bad inning, and it just drives you nuts, right? It's like, I look at him and I say, here's a guy, he faces 30 batters, he's going to dominate 26 of them, and then 4 of them are going to cost you the game.
Right.
That's really hard to figure out. It's not like he's pitching to a 6 ERA. Jose Barrios has an ERA over 5, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about Garrett Cole, who's got like a 3.5, a little bit less than that. That's not terrible. He's been a good pitcher for the Yankees. There's going to be a moment where he can be a great one, and the opportunities are going to be there in front of him. And I say this a lot about October players and pitchers and hitters. I mean, you're not going to be considered a great October player until you are one. That's it. There's not like this whole he can, he can't, he is or he isn't. October history is littered with guys you never even gave a second thought to coming up with big performances in a playoff or World Series game, and star players who came up small. So, there's no way to predict this. Garrett Cole has the ability, and he's going to get some opportunities. If this team continues to win games that aren't pitched by him, he's going to get more opportunities the deeper they go, and he's going to have a chance to give you that one signature game or 2 signature games and say, okay, here's why you gave him that money. And the tools are there. You don't strike out 250 batters without being able to do it. The home runs are a problem, and hopefully he figures out how to eliminate them or keep them to a minimum, or at least make them solo shots and only 1 or 2 of them instead of 3 or 4 of them when the games, when the stakes get higher.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost, and it reminds me of so much of, what the years of listening to you and Mike when you were on Mike's show. Like, it's almost unfair to judge people by October. It's such a small sample size. You have, anybody could go 0 for a week or 0 for, and have a bad series, and anybody can have a great series. But it's such a small sample size, and especially Yankee fans they're judged by October.
Well, I also go back and look at the first, go back to 1996. If I don't know if you're old enough to remember that World Series,
yeah, we're
Yankees
old
and Braves. Okay, and this goes back to also like judging trades and understanding, judging players. You had Graham Lloyd is one of has a sterling World Series record for the Yankees, 96 and 98. Those 2 series, he didn't give up a single run, and I think he pitched in 11. No, not that many World Series games, but I mean he, I think maybe 7 or 8 World Series games. He didn't give up a single run. Okay, he was a great postseason pitcher for the Yankees in 96 and 98. You know that in the 1996 regular season, he had like a 13 ERA after they traded for him? He was miserable. David Weathers was the same thing. David Weathers had a 10 ERA or something like that. He went out and shut down the Rangers and had another good performance for them in the next round after that.
It's about who's hot now.
I mean, you have the ability. That's why I don't know what Lou Trevino or Scott Efros are going to do. I don't know what Harrison Bader is going to do. There just comes a time, and those two pitchers specifically, Graham Lloyd and David Weathers, were huge for the Yankees in 1996. And go look up, they were miserable regular season pitchers after the Yankees made those trades, one in July and one in August. And it was a disaster. If I'd have told you then that those two guys are going to be like Graham Lloyd gets invited to every Timers game.
Yeah, nobody remembers the bad times. If you win in October, that's all people are going to remember. That's it. And you can make a whole lifetime off of that. These guys who are going to come up, even look at guys like for the Mets, we have like our Daniel Murphy who, listen, he was a great player for us. He played really well. But all of a sudden, because of a very short stretch and a nice window for the Mets, he parlayed that into being, and he turned out to be even a better player long term. Yeah. But you can make your money in October.
Look, we're littered with that. Benny Agbayani, Andy Chavez. Yeah. But is Cashman in trouble if they don't win this year?
If they had fallen apart completely and then there was nothing to salvage on this roster and they're losing wild card games or whatever it's going to be, I just said, okay, maybe it's something to think about. But here's the thing. This isn't about what you or I think about Brian Cashman. It's not about what any Yankee fan thinks about Brian Cashman. Hal Steinbrenner, it's what he thinks about Brian Cashman. Okay? And there has been no indication over the last dozen years that Hal Steinbrenner is at all dissatisfied with how Brian Cashman does his job. Now, Yankee fans listening might just be, throwing their phones or their speakers through the window right now because of that, what I just said. But, there is something to be said for competing every year. And being good enough to be in this chase every year, okay? And that's something that the Yankees, that's something every team does value, let's face it, okay? I talk to people around the league. I talk to people at every team. And every year when the Yankees sign somebody or trade somebody or they're in first place in June or July or whatever, I have people all over the league tell me, hey, that was a good move that Brian Cashman made. This guy's a good sign. That's it. This is a good team, blah, 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 blah. And the payroll comes up and, that you can spend money on these guys comes up. It's part of it. But people around the league who work in this industry tell me that this was a good move or that was a good move or that he does a good job. So I'm looking at that too, and I'm looking at the fact that there has been zero indication how Steinbrenner is at all dissatisfied with how Brian Cashman does his job. That's not to say he likes losing a playoff series or is not upset that they're not pushing through a winning World Series. That's a different argument. And I know for most fans that's not a different argument, but it really is. And those two things are not at odds as I have seen it for years now as how Hal Steinbrenner views Brian Cashman's job. So I would tell you at this point there is nothing to tell me that he is in trouble.
Now tomorrow, are you worried about Northwestern being a trap game with Michigan 2 weeks ahead for Penn State?
No, I don't even know what time the game is. I don't think I'm going to get to see it.
No, it's 3:30.
I've got 1 o'clock. What time is it?
3:30.
3:30. I am probably not going to see any of it. So yeah, I'm not worried. I know it's a huge, I don't care if they beat the spread or not. They're a huge favorite. So I'm not worried about that. The Michigan-Ohio State games are really always the ones that, and one other one, because I've gotten used to 3 or 4 losses a year lately. So we'll see when they pop up.
Well, you're 4-0 now, so they're doing all right.
I've been 4-0 before.
Yeah, I believe it. That's a crazy place to see games. Happy Valley. That's on my bucket list, right?
It's a great spot. It's one of my favorite places in the world. And I'm not even talking about just going to a football game. Just being there. That's one of my favorite places in the world. And maybe listen. Sometimes I get an early end to my October travels and get to go see another game there.
Nice.
We'll see. Maybe I'd rather be in the Bronx in late October than and see another World Series game. It's been a little while since I've seen one of those two.
Now, on June 30th, you got to sit in the booth. I'm guessing that was a dream come true. Call the game with Susan. Are you the heir apparent? Are you looking for the job, or what's the deal?
No, I got to do one game. I got to do my first play-by-play game on my 52nd birthday. There is no way I am heir apparent to anything, okay? First of all, John Sterling is wonderful and marvelous, and I hope he's coming back to do as many games as he possibly can. I loved getting a chance as a kid who, first got on the radio when he was 12 years old, and being on the radio talking about sports was my dream job, and I've lived it, right? I got a chance to fly the space shuttle. It was an amazing experience, and all I really had to do was bring it back down safely and land and hand it back over and say, okay, thank you for letting me do it. I'll let you handle it the rest of the way. I had an amazing time. I wish there were a few more runs on the board so I could have, broken out a few more different things. It was a 2-1 game.
I was looking for the call. Game. There was a steal at home, though, right? There was an attempted steal at home?
There was an attempted steal at home that I quickly had to, and I locked for a second because I forgot which runner was on third base.
Okay.
But I think it sounded fine. But listen, I got a chance to do it. I'm not sitting here I'm not telling anybody, I'm not under any delusions that somebody is going to call me and take one game I did in my 30 years at WFAN and 40 years of being on the radio that, oh, you're going to get to do this job now. I live in the sane world. I live in the real world. I know what to do.
Where do you sit during game? Where are you behind the plate, like right in that in the press box?
Yes, in the main press box.
Okay. Right. Oh, you know what? I have one more question. Somebody actually wanted me to ask you this. Now, you did 2 Olympics. You covered 2 Olympics with Westwood 1. What was your favorite part of the Olympics?
My favorite part of the Olympics. Wow. I got to see gold medal events, right? Like I was at the U.S. women's basketball gold medal game.
Okay.
U.S. women's basketball gold medal game. The U.S. softball gold medal game.
That's cool.
I got to see a couple other crazy events. I walked in one time. We were in Atlanta. On my way into the studio, I stopped at the I forget which building it was, but I went to see weightlifting and table tennis. Where else am I going to go see those? Right? This is Olympic level of a sport that I'm never going to go see somewhere else. So I went to see those.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Those are kind of cool, different things to do. Just the whole idea of the whole world watches. For all these years since then, you turn on TV and you're watching the Olympics. And I love summer games. I love the track and field, and you just got to go see some of that. It's just getting to experience the whole thing, kind of being in the middle of where all the action is happening. I've got a chance to cover Yankees baseball, and like Major League Baseball and the Yankees. A lot of people are watching.
Yeah,
you want to be where a lot of people are watching, and when you're at the Olympics, a lot of people are watching. It's something like Jeter said this during the captain show. We talked about how the more people are watching, that's where you wanted to be, and that's kind of the deal too. I was, this is the event that everybody's paying attention to, and I got to be one of the people helping tell the story. I got to be one of the people telling the rest of the world what was happening in this major event, and that's kind of why you get into the business.
Well, he's the voice of the Yankees. Out of the booth, he's the voice of the Yankees.
No.
Yeah.
Start over again.
But you can find them on SNY, WFAN, anywhere. Sweeny, hell of a job. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you, fellas. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.